Have you ever felt eyes on you when no one was there? I moved into a quiet, rundown apartment after a messy breakup. Just me, my laptop, and the silence I thought I needed. The neighbor across the hall. I never saw him. Not at first. But then I started noticing little things. Smudges on my doorknob. Footprints where no one should have walked. One night I checked the peephole, and I swear he was already looking back. I never expected a neighbor I'd never spoken to know what socks I was wearing. But what I didn't know was that he'd been watching me from the very start. What would you do if someone was slipping into your apartment without ever being seen? This episode is about true creepy neighbor horror stories, so keep watching to find out what I caught on camera and what he whispered through the door. But before we start, don't forget to hit subscribe or follow so you'll never miss our next terrifying episode. If you're enjoying our content, please give us a like, drop a comment, and share this video to help us reach 500 likes. Also, follow us on our social media platforms for the latest updates. Thank you all for being part of this journey with me. And now, let's dive into the darkness together. My name's Lena, and I was 31 when this happened. I had just come out of a messy 5-year relationship, and honestly, everything in my life was unraveling. Emotionally, financially, even logistically. At the time, I was freelancing in tech support, mostly from home. It gave me flexibility, sure, but it also meant I spent most of my days alone, staring at glowing screens and trying not to spiral. After the breakup, I needed a place fast, something cheap. No roommates, no emotional entanglements. I found a small apartment on Willowmere Street, second floor of an old, slightly decrepit building. The walls had a worn-out feel to them, the wooden floors were scuffed, and the ceiling light gave everything a sickly yellow cast. But it was quiet, affordable, and the landlord didn't pry. Mr. Halverson, the building owner, had to be nearing 70. He barely said a word as he handed me the keys. "Rent's due on the 1st. Slots in the mailroom downstairs," he muttered, before vanishing into the hallway. That was perfect for me. I wasn't looking for conversation. The first week was fine. Quiet, almost peaceful. Sure, the silence hit harder at night, but there was something liberating about the solitude. I developed little routines: midnight cereal, coffee exactly the way I liked it, dishes left in the sink without guilt. For a moment, it felt like I was reclaiming my life. That lasted about 10 days. Across the hall from me was apartment 2C. I never saw anyone go in or out, but the light under the door would flick on at strange hours. And the mail slot was always full. Menus, coupons, unopened letters. Something about it felt watched. Not like someone was staring, more like being next to a window with the blinds closed and knowing someone's behind them. The feeling grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, I came home from the grocery store, balancing bags filled with soup cans, a rotisserie chicken, a bottle of cheap wine. I dropped my keys. As I bent to pick them up, the door to 2C creaked open. Just an inch. A sliver of a pale face appeared. One unblinking eye. "You just move in?" he asked. His voice was flat. No warmth, no curiosity. Just noting it. "Yeah. Couple weeks ago," I replied casually. No response. His gaze lingered, dropping, scanning, almost like he was cataloging me. Then, silently, the door closed. Not a slam. A slow, deliberate shut. I stood frozen for a second, chicken in hand, feeling unsettled. I tried to brush it off. Maybe he was just awkward. I'd lived in cities long enough to know some people avoid eye contact like it's toxic, but then things got strange. It started with my doorknob. Faint smudges, like greasy fingerprints. One morning, my welcome mat was flipped. I never touched it. Then came the footprints, barely visible but clearly leading from the window to the door. Then came the note. I opened the fridge for some juice and found a yellow sticky note. Dead center. "Buy more almond milk." I hate almond milk, never drink it. That was the shift, from weird to frightening. I checked every window, locked the balcony, upgraded my front door lock. No signs of forced entry, nothing for police to act on. Then came the scratching. It was around 2:30 a.m. I had fallen asleep with my laptop open. A faint scraping sound woke me, soft but steady. It came from the door. I didn't move. Another long drag, then silence. I crept to the peephole. The hallway was empty. I opened the door a crack. No one. but taped to it was another sticky note. "I like your socks." They were white with tiny red stars. I had worn them that night, tossed them by the couch. No photos, nothing online. No one should have known. I was officially terrified. The next morning, I pounded on 2C's door. I could hear movement, soft shifting, a creak, but no response. I yelled, told him to stay away, threatened to call the police. That night, my deadbolt jammed. I always locked it, but before bed I found it frozen, like someone had shoved something inside the mechanism. The maintenance guy confirmed it. It looked tampered with. I asked him to replace it, didn't tell him why. I bought a tiny hidden camera, placed it on a shelf aimed at the door. For 2 days, nothing. I began to think maybe I'd imagined it all. Then came the third night. I woke up around 2:40 a.m., a chill crawling up my spine. Next morning I checked the footage. There he was, standing outside my door, not knocking, not moving, just watching. Then he leaned forward, mouth an inch from the door, and whispered, "I know you're awake." I couldn't breathe, just stared at the screen. The next day, I installed a chain lock, added a door wedge, and started sleeping with pepper spray under my pillow. Every sound jolted me awake. Then he started speaking through the vents. At first I thought I imagined it, but the whispering became regular, always at night. My name, repeated slowly, or chanted, sometimes harsh, fast, sometimes giggling. Once I clearly heard, "I can hear you breathing." I recorded it. Nothing but static played back. No proof. I taped a note to his door. "Come near me again and I'm calling the cops." That night, I found another sticky note on mine. "No one's coming to help you." That broke me. I packed a duffel bag and left. Stayed with my sister Mina in Rosefield, an hour away. I told her everything. She wanted to call the police, but I had no evidence, just dread. 2 days later, the landlord called. Said another tenant complained about a foul smell from my apartment. I went back with the police. Drawers torn out, clothes slashed, kitchen stank of decay. And in the bedroom, across every wall, scrawled in black marker, "You shouldn't have left. You shouldn't have left. You shouldn't have left," over and over. Different sizes, some overlapping, some angled, tilted, manic. The police questioned him. He claimed he hadn't left his unit in days. No fingerprints, no forced entry, nothing to charge him with. I broke the lease that day, never looked back. Now I live in a modern building. Cameras, security, neighbors I know by name. I check my locks, twice, sometimes 3 times before bed. I haven't seen him since. But some nights, right before I drift off, when the world is so quiet I can hear my own pulse, I swear I hear it. That slow, deliberate dragging sound. And I wonder, whose door he's standing behind now? In 2020, when I was 21 and my boyfriend, now husband, was 22, we moved into our first real apartment, a cozy downstairs unit in a quiet fourplex on the edge of a small Midwestern town. It felt like freedom. No dorms, no roommates, just us, our cat, and the start of something new. Over time, our little family grew. We adopted a second cat and a dog, and began settling into the life we were building together. The building was duplex style. 2 units on the ground floor, 2 above. Ours was the bottom right unit, and just beyond the backyard fence lay an old cemetery. We used to joke, "At least the neighbors out back are quiet." But we were wrong. So wrong. Our upstairs neighbor, a man in his late 30s named Greg, introduced himself not with words, but with noise. Violent, jarring noise. The first time we apparently disturbed him, he stood at the top of the stairs, slamming his apartment door open and shut for nearly 10 minutes. No conversation, no confrontation, just that bone-rattling slam again and again. We were confused but tried to shrug it off. Maybe it was a bad day, but it wasn't a one-time thing. Anytime we made a sound that displeased him, whether it was walking too loudly, vacuuming, or the cats chasing each other, he responded with his signature door-slamming tantrums. No discussion, just rage. The night before our wedding, we returned from dinner. our final night as fiancé, and I was having an anxiety attack about the trip. My fiancé was helping me calm down beside our car when Greg suddenly charged down the stairs, shouting at us about making noise all day. My fiancé told him to back off, protective and fed up. When we finally got inside, my fiancé went upstairs to talk things out. That's when we discovered the problem: the cat tree. Every time the cat jumped on it, it bumped the shared wall. We moved it immediately, thinking that would resolve things. After our honeymoon, we tried to extend an olive branch. My husband, being an online gamer, offered to connect via Discord so Greg could message us directly if something was bothering him instead of causing a scene. He agreed. We hoped it was over, but nothing changed. No messages, just more slamming, more anxiety. The property manager, who coincidentally lived in the unit above us with his wife, dismissed everything. He claimed we were fabricating the story, that he wouldn't know if a neighbor was slamming the door for 10 minutes straight. By late 2021, the place we had once loved had become a source of constant fear, but the rent was cheap, $600 for a one-bedroom, and we figured we could tough it out. That changed when my husband got promoted and transferred across the country. He left ahead of me, and I stayed back to finish packing and prepare for the move. Alone now, I took every step to avoid conflict. I wore headphones for everything. I shut doors gently. I tiptoed around the apartment. A week before my departure, my friend and a couple of my husband's co-workers helped load the U-Haul box. After a long day, my friend and I grabbed dinner in town. When I returned around 6 p.m., I vacuumed, took out the trash, locked the door, a habit my husband always insisted on, and lay down to unwind with TikToks in my headphones. Then came the pounding. Furious, relentless pounding on my front door. Even with my headphones in, I recognized the voice. Greg. My dog tried to crawl under the bed while my male cat arched and hissed at the window. Greg was now banging on the windows, screaming that he was going to kill me. Shaking, I called my mom, but she immediately told me to hang up and call 911. I whispered to the dispatcher, trying not to make a sound. Then I heard the worst noise of all. The rattle of my front doorknob. He was trying to open it. Within minutes, the police arrived and took him away. I stood there in my half-packed apartment surrounded by 2 officers, asking over and over again, "Is he really gone?" They assured me he'd be in jail for the night. My friend drove over an hour with her husband to pick me up. That night, I stayed with them, afraid to sleep. My mom arrived the next day, and we left earlier than planned, hitting the road toward our new life on the East Coast. I contacted the apartment complex again, and this time they believed me. The police report forced their hand. Midway through our drive across the Midwest, a call came in, from the hospital. Greg had been committed briefly, but now he was being released. The person on the line advised me to seek an order of protection because Greg was still making threats against my life. My blood ran cold, but I was already far away. I told them as much. The voice on the phone hesitated before agreeing. That was probably for the best. We never found out what triggered his outburst that night. Maybe the vacuuming, maybe the sight of me alone. For months after, I lived in fear, checking over my shoulder, locking every door and window obsessively. I had nightmares constantly. I couldn't be alone without panicking. Eventually, in 2023, we reached a plea agreement. He had moved back to Alaska to live with his parents. The deal was simple. If he got consistent mental health treatment, I would drop the charges. Now I live with a pit bull trained to guard me while I sleep. My locks are always secured. I still flinch at loud noises. I'll probably never forget the way it felt to know someone just feet above me had been harboring that much hatred. Or that, for a few terrifying minutes, I wasn't sure I'd survive the night. My name is Chloe. I was 24 at the time, sharing an apartment with my roommate Jenna in a quiet suburb just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. We'd always been pretty cautious, borderline paranoid. Our apartment was secure. We had a digital deadbolt, a peephole cam, even an app that sent alerts when someone got too close to our door. We genuinely thought we were doing everything right. That illusion shattered when Ethan moved in. A sweet family used to live across the hall from us. We'd wave to their little girl on her tricycle and pass casseroles back and forth. Then one day, they were gone, and a guy in his early 30s moved in, dragging in boxes filled with anime statues, vintage game consoles, and sci-fi posters. He was tall, pale, with thick glasses and shaggy hair. Honestly, at first, we were intrigued. Jenna and I are nerdy ourselves. We play D&D, cosplay, obsess over Witcher lore. So, in the spirit of geeky camaraderie, we baked Elden Ring-themed cookies, tossed in a welcome candle and a packet of novelty dice, and knocked on his door. He barely looked at us, mumbled a flat thanks, didn't smile, and closed the door within 10 seconds. Not everyone's social, we figured. Maybe he was shy. It even seemed like a plus. A quiet, harmless introvert across the hall. What could go wrong? Then the pattern began. Whenever either of us stepped into the hallway, he appeared. It was as if he were always waiting, just out of view, listening. He'd ask for strange things. Got any sugar? A charger I could borrow? Can you watch my apartment for an hour? Not the usual kind of watch either. He wanted us inside his place. We always said no. Politely. Repeatedly. But it didn't seem to click. He just nodded, shuffled back inside, and would ask again a few days later. Jenna joked he was our unofficial third roommate. But the joke didn't land for long. About a month in, things took a seriously unsettling turn. It was a Saturday night. We'd been out near Bank of America Stadium, had a few drinks, danced a little, laughed a lot. At around 3 a.m., we headed home, buzzed but still in control. When we got to the landing, right between our apartment and his, he was sitting there, cross-legged, staring straight ahead. As soon as he saw us, he jumped to his feet and asked where we'd been. "You didn't tell me you were going out," he said, like we were grounded teenagers. Jenna nearly burst into laughter, half from shock, half from alcohol. But when he saw her reaction, something dark passed over his face. His cheeks flushed, and his mouth twisted slightly. We rushed past him, locked our door, and didn't think much more of it, until we checked the peephole footage the next morning. He hadn't left. He sat there for hours, right outside our door, either staring directly at it or slowly rocking on the floor. The timestamp showed him there until nearly 6 a.m. It was like something out of a horror movie, like when you fast-forward security cam footage and the figure just stays still for hours. We called the police. They told us unless he physically tried to enter or made a direct threat, there wasn't much they could do. Technically, it was a shared hallway. We filed a complaint with the apartment management too. It seemed to work. He disappeared for about 5 days. No knocks, no questions, just radio silence. We thought, foolishly, that it was over. It wasn't. A few weeks later, he was back in full force, sitting outside our door for hours, sometimes pacing, sometimes whispering, always watching. I worked remotely, so I was stuck there. Every time I opened the door, even slightly, he appeared, asking weirdly phrased questions like, "Why don't you come over?" Or, "You look really good today." Once, when no one else was around, he whispered, "If you don't come to my place, I'll kill you both in your sleep. No one will hear a thing." I was so stunned, so terrified, I didn't even respond. Just slammed the door and collapsed on the floor, sobbing until Jenna came home. Then the letters started, slipped under the door, taped to our cars, scrawled on torn notebook pages. Some were romantic in a terrifying way. One read, "I want you both to be my wives, sister wives forever." Another was filled with disgusting sexual fantasies, words that made my stomach churn. Then he installed his own peephole cam, angled directly at our door. Every time we left the apartment, there was a new note waiting. "You look tired today. You smell like lavender again. Missed you this afternoon." But the worst one? "You're so beautiful when you sleep." Our bedroom faced the back of the building, 3rd floor. We figured no one could possibly see in. But then one night, around 2 a.m., I woke to a faint scratching sound. I crawled to the window, peeked through the blinds, and I swear I saw movement. A shadow shifting at the edge of the parking lot, barely visible under the street lamp. Could have been a trick of the light, could have been him. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. We called the police again, told them about the threats, the stalking, the notes. They told us to seek a restraining order. But that's not something that happens overnight. It takes time. Time we were rapidly running out of. In the end, we did the only thing we could. We broke the lease. It cost us a small fortune, but no price felt too high anymore. One night in an Airbnb, just one night without Ethan, and we felt safer, like we could finally breathe. Eventually, we found a new apartment, secure building, normal neighbors. For a while, we laughed about it, until Jenna moved in with her fiancé, now husband. We still talk all the time, still laugh, but we never joke about Ethan. Because some things don't fade, especially when they've watched you sleep. If you've made it to the end of this video, let me know in the comments which story creeped you out the most. And if you could survive only one of these stories, which one would it be? Also, drop "I made it" and mention our channel in the comments below. I want to know who my loyal followers are so I can give you a shout out in our next videos. And lastly, if you want to support AG Horrors and help us keep creating even more spine-chilling content, check out our Patreon or Ko-fi. Your support keeps the scares coming and means the world to us. Don't forget to like, share, and catch up on our previous episodes. And now, stay tuned for the next horror episode.